Presidential Candidates Peace Accord under threat, NPC. The National Peace Committee, NPC, on Monday expressed strong reservations over recourse to abusive language and incendiary remarks by certain spokespersons of presidential candidates as campaigns for the 2023 general elections continue to gather steam across the country. Two prominent members of the committee, former military head of state General Abdulsalami Abubakar retired, and Reverend Dr. Matthew Hassan Kuka, Bishop of Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, expressed their disappointment in a statement they jointly signed, which was made available to Daily Independent. According to them, the peace accord signed by the leadership of the 18 political parties and their presidential candidates was under threat, given the utterances and actions of some political stakeholders in the past few days. The members of the NPC particularly expressed strong reservations over recourse to abusive language and incendiary remarks by certain spokespersons of presidential candidates, saying that current political actors appeared not to have learned any lessons from the past. While calling on such presidential candidates to rein in their spokesperson, the NPC warned that all candidates will be held responsible for what is said on their behalf or of their party. Aggressive and abusive language only diminishes the integrity of the individuals, their candidates, and their parties. Nigerians should be ready to punish instigators of violence by isolating them or their candidates. The statement read in part, the members of the National Peace Committee, NPC, have watched with utter sadness and deep concern the deterioration in the communication of fundamental issues among the politicians since the Independent National Electoral Commission lifted the ban on political campaigns on September 28, 2022. A day after the ban was lifted, and in response to a call by the NPC, the presidential candidates and their running mate met and participated in the signing of the peace accord at the International Conference Center, Abuja. Since its successful outing preceding the 2015 presidential elections, the signing of the peace accord has become embedded in our electioneering campaigns. Over the years, the event has elevated the level of trust and confidence among ordinary Nigerians in the democratic process. Some have been called for the institutionalization of the process into our democratic process due to its moral significance. The NPC has continued to maintain its partnership with the INEC to deliver peaceful elections in our country. The international community has taken a very keen interest in development and progress of our country on the path of democracy. For this reason, the NPC has continued to work with and receive high-level delegations from Europe and the United States of America interested in our elections. Their passion, concerns, and commitment to our democracy are genuine, and we find this very encouraging. We should therefore know that the world is watching us. We appreciate the fact that the President and the Commander-in-Chief, President Muhammadu Buhari, in collaboration with the National Assembly, have shown their commitment to ensuring successful elections. On our part, we, the members of the Peace Committee, are also encouraged by the progress and innovations that INEC has continued to make under the leadership of Professor Mahmood Yakubu. All Nigerians can testify to this development through the successes recorded in the peaceful conduct of the off-cycle elections in Edo, Ondo, Anambra, Ekiti, and Osun states. We are not where we want to be yet, but we are right to assume that we can do more. Nigerians are genuinely concerned, troubled, and disappointed by the conduct and attitude of some of the political actors in the last few weeks. Nigerians have been fed a menu of intemperate language, intimidation, and outright violence in the field of the campaigns. It is evident that some of our actors have not learned any lessons from the past. There is an increasing tone of desperation, if not incitement, among some of the contestants and members of their parties. Intra and inter-party wranglings still persist, with occasions of violence. In desperation, some selfish political actors use these strategies to pursue their frivolous ambitions in the courts. When all the presidential candidates and the party chairmen signed the peace accord, they were committed to infusing a sense of decency, civility, and nobility in the political process. The political actors cannot pretend to be oblivious to the content of the peace accord that they signed. Nigerians expect that as men and women of honor, they were committed to keeping their word. The security agencies have continued to do their best as they monitor security development across the country. We continue to encourage them to ensure that the right environment is created for peaceful elections. Now, during the signing of the peace accord, the Inspector General of Police, Mr. Baba Usman Akali, called attention to the fact that the federal government does not recognize any of the many security outfits that have mushroomed across the country. We call on law enforcement agencies to enforce the law with the understanding that everyone will be held accountable for their actions, no matter their status. We wish to call on the media to remain focused on managing information. Social media is with us, and it can be a tool for good if only we decided to use it for peaceful purposes. Now, citizens must be more discreet in the kind of information that they circulate on various platforms. Individuals must take responsibility for what they read. We encourage the youth to be more restrained and to use their numbers well as to guard their future. We call on all the candidates to rein in their spokespersons and those who claim to represent them and their parties in the public media. All candidates will be held responsible for what is said on their behalf or of their party. Aggressive and abusive language only diminishes the integrity of the individuals, their candidates, and their parties. Nigerians should be ready to punish instigators of violence by isolating them or their candidates. Right? We call on all the candidates to rein on their spokesperson, and that has been said well. We call on the federal government and state government to ensure a level playing field for all parties in the course of the campaigns. Access to federal or state facilities must be open to all candidates as long as they meet their financial and other commitments to using the facilities. It is morally wrong to abuse the power of incumbency by subverting the efforts of those who are in opposition to status quo. Parties and citizens do not lose their rights because they are opposed to the party in power. All citizens are above political parties. Finally, we call on fellow citizens to appreciate the global trends around the world and Africa and their impact on the future, where resources are becoming scarce. Nigerians must appreciate the huge resources committed to elections and do everything possible to ensure their integrity. May God, the creator of heaven and earth, continue to guide our country and hear our prayers for peace, prosperity, and progress. Wow. So this is coming from the leadership of the National Peace Committee, led by retired Abdulsalami Abubakar General and the Reverend Dr. Matthew Hassan Kuka, Bishop of Catholic Diocese of Sokoto, coming to reiterate the fact that all presidential candidates, their political parties, and their supporters must abide by the peace accord that has been signed by everybody. Almost 18 political parties, their supporters, and their leaders and their candidates have signed that peace accord. Unfortunately, some quarters in the country and some political parties and their leaders are actually not abiding by that peace accord. And that can be seen from the utterances coming from the spokespersons of the political parties. I don't want to mention the name of parties, but key parties like the APC, the PDP, the Labour Party, and NNPP, these are the major contending parties in the country. And we've heard derogatory statements and remarks coming from their spokespersons. And that is not acceptable. That is obviously violating the peace accord that has been signed. Now, the leadership of this National Peace Committee is once again calling every political party to order, their candidates and their supporters to order, to abide by the peace accord that has been signed. And that anybody that violates it, the party candidates will be held accountable and responsible for whatever their spokesperson or their representative does during this campaign period and through the election period. So we should abide by this peace accord that has been signed for there to be national peace. And one key thing that has been said here as a wrap-up is that the incumbent government across all the states in the country must not deny opposition parties access to public and government facilities under their custody for campaign purposes. Unfortunately, that again has been flaunted because Edo State government did not allow Labour Party to use the stadium. The Ebonyi State has also not allowed Labour Party in one of the local government to use government facility. Again, Abia State, if PDP has not allowed Labour Party to use a private secondary school ground for rally as well. So now the trend is showing that the governors currently on seat and their own leadership and their subordinates are not allowing opposition party, especially Labour Party, to use or to have access to public facilities for campaign purposes. It's unfortunate. And meanwhile, this has been enshrined in the National Peace Accord document that has been signed by everybody, that no sitting government should deny opposition party access to government and public facilities for campaign purposes. Wow. So God will help us. This is what Abdulsalami Abubakar is saying to all Nigerians on behalf of the National Peace Committee. And thank you for listening. And let's continue to monitor the party's compliance to this peace accord that they have all signed. Thank you for listening, and let's have your comment.